So you want to renegotiate the price with the seller, but you just don't know how to do it, or you just want to know when you should go about renegotiating the price. I got you guys. Today, I'm going to explain to you when you should renegotiate, and also I'll give you the steps on, how to go about renegotiating as far as what you should say, and I'll let you know what I say myself. Now, before we get into it, I want to let you guys know what you should not do. The first thing you should know is you don't go about this renegotiating stuff as far as, getting a property under contract and then just feel like you can wait it out in like a 30-day inspection period, wait it out until the end of 30 days, and then get the seller to go down on the price. That's not what you do. Not at all. That's bad business, and you're giving the business of wholesaling real estate a bad name and a bad reputation. Now, don't go about doing that. That's just bad business. So the way you want to go about renegotiating the price, the win factor, is when you know that you already have a buyer in place, but the price that you have it at doesn't work for that buyer, right? So let me explain that to you a little bit more. Now, and when you have a property, let's just say you got a property at, $80,000, right? So you got the property under contract with your seller at $80,000. However, you have a buyer ready to go. They're saying we'll close in a week. They don't need any inspection or anything. They already did the walkthrough. They're willing to close next week at $75,000, right? Now, in that case, you go about going back to your seller and you go about getting them down on the price, but to a fair amount, right? So you can go, 80,000 and say, hey, look, I can get you guys, 65,000 and close next week. Right? So these motivating factors, I'll get you 65,000 and close next week. The next week is the motivating factor right there, because it'll be, quick. We don't need an inspection. We don't need anything. We'll be closing next week. So you can go about it that way. However, what I want to say to you right there is get the deal done. That's really the main thing, right? So you can go to 65,000 since you have a buyer at 75. You were out there pushing it initially at 90,000. You want your $10,000. I get that. I understand. But at the same time, your duty is to fulfill your contractual obligations. You feel me? So you don't want to get this reputation of putting properties under contract, or better yet, you don't want to get comfortable with yourself with putting properties under contract and not closing them. So you want to be able to, for one, do your proper due diligence as far as, how to get the property sold with the numbers, right? And as far as, what's the ARV, what's your offer price, things like that, what's the projected rehab amount, that'll help you. However, once you have that buyer and you have the way to get the property sold and fulfill your contractual obligations, you get it sold, right? No matter if it's 65 and you make, $10,000 on the spread, or no matter if it's, 72,500 and you make 2,500 on the spread. So just to be transparent with you guys, the reason why I'm, pressing this issue is because I've closed deals where I've gotten nothing on the HUD statement, literally nothing. And, the buyer will look out for me, give me a little something on the back end, but nothing on the HUD statement. And I've also closed deals where I've gotten $100 on the HUD statement. So the reason why I still went ahead and closed those deals is because, for one, the power of my word, right? So the power of your word is really, is strong. It's very strong. And the more you complete and do what you say you're going to do, you'll also give yourself more confidence, which you'll project more confidence when you're speaking with your clients and speaking with your sellers. So that'll in turn attract more business to you. So it's not all about the money right then and there. It's more about your word and, keeping the spiritual nature of all of this stuff. So you definitely want to, when you renegotiate, definitely has to be when you have the buyer in place. Do not, and I repeat, do not go about renegotiating with your seller when you do not have a buyer in place. Take that same scenario. If I'm at $80,000 and if I'm, nearing the end of my inspection period, say I got 5 days left, right? Your 5 days left out of your, however long your inspection period is. My inspection period is not 30 days. So when you have 5 days left out of that inspection period, you have a choice, if you don't have a buyer in place, you have a choice on if you want to go back to your seller and say, hey, look, I can purchase the property, but I need it down to here. I need it down to, instead of 80,000, I need it to 65,000. You can do that. However, what you're risking is even more bruise on your reputation and even more just resistance from the universe. Because if you go about doing that and you're 5 days and you have no interest after you even get them down to $65,000, that's going to look very bad on your behalf. Now, you have experience. I understand. You're not, watching this. You may be a beginner. I understand that. But you also are watching this, and I'm sure you have some experience in real estate investing. So you believe in your abilities and your skills and your knowledge. And that's good. That's great. I'm just saying that make sure you have a buyer, or at least a buyer, like a firm buyer in mind that you've already done business with before you go about going to sellers and renegotiating the price. A lot of legality gray areas comes in wholesaling real estate. Like, wholesaling real estate is legal. I want to get that out there. You should know that already. Wholesaling real estate is legal. However, a lot of gray areas happen when you have people promising, if I'm promising someone that, hey, look, I have you at 80,000, but if you just go down to $65,000, I'll be able to close you out next week. And I say all those same things that I told you to say previously. However, this time I do not have a buyer in place. Now we get to those 5 days. And another thing about wholesaling real estate, if you cancel within your contracted period, nothing can happen to you. I mean, they can, try to sue for, specific performance. That's what the lawsuit name is if someone is not, upholding their contractual obligations. However, you can't really, because you have an inspection period. So within your inspection period, you can pull out. And I have a amazing contract for you guys. If you haven't saw the purchase and sell agreement, go ahead and click the link up there, or maybe I'll put it in the bio or in the description. But once you back out, you're good. But this gray area comes when you're promising things that you don't have. So then they have an argument where people go and they literally make life plans based off what some investor is saying, but this investor doesn't know what they're talking about. So that's when you can, there's been lawsuits that's happened. Maybe I'll put something right there. There's been lawsuits that's happened where people have, literally sued an investor just because they backed out of the contract after the person who's the original, seller, the owner, they put down payments on new houses based off what this investor was saying. So that's not something you want to find yourself in. So again, just make sure the win is when you have the buyer in place. That's when you do it. That's when, all right? When you have the buyer in place, at this point, no matter how you say it, no matter what you say, because you have the buyer in place. So if they decide to go down, then you can stand on your word and you can get the property closed, all right? Now, how do you do it? How do you go about renegotiating the price with the seller? Now, renegotiating the price with the seller is a tricky thing, just because it's tricky because you are going back on your word, so to speak. But this is why you have to speak in not so certain terms in your, in your interactions with the seller. You want to give them confidence that you're going to deliver on what you're saying you're going to deliver on. However, you don't want to be like, yeah, we got this. We're going to be closing this out next week. Don't worry. You don't want to say any of this. We got this. The property's done deal. No, you don't want to say any of that until it actually is. So what I mean by this is, for one, complete your inspection as far as how many times you need to go into the property within your inspection period. That way you really know what you're talking about and not just trying to say whatever to get a deal. Don't ever do that, all right? The how is by being trustworthy, okay? They have to trust what you're saying and trust your judgment. And also they have to want to sell the property, but they trust you and they're coming to you for a reason. They're working for you, with you for a reason. Don't mess that trust up, okay? So don't come off and start saying things when you haven't even saw the property and making false promises. So to take it a step further, this is what a conversation would look like if you were going to renegotiate the price with a seller. Now, for one, you're going to give them a call. Ring, ring, ring. Hey, John, it's D'Angelo. Didn't catch you at a bad time. Blah, 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 blah. Now you go and I'm just following up about the property on 123 Main Street, right? Now, at this point, you'll go and you'll say, well, John, our purchase manager, or whoever you like to say, just got back to me with the numbers, and we're kind of a little over budget, a little more than we expected. We're about 10,000 over what we expected. Whatever price you're looking to get them down, right? So say a little bit more, whatever you get them down. If you're looking to get them down like 5,000, say you're about 10,000 above, right? So we're about 10,000 above, the numbers that, we expected. However, like I said, we really want to move forward with this property and we're ready to close by next week. Do you think you can help us out by, kind of helping us out a little bit, on the rehab budget? What do you mean? Well, we're about 10,000 over budget. So, if there's any way you can kind of, bend a little bit on your end or give a little on your end so we can, come to some kind of neutral ground there. Well, how much? Well, I mean, however much you feel comfortable. We're about 10,000 over budget. So however much you feel comfortable, that'll be great. I mean, I was really looking forward to get my $80,000, right? I was really looking forward to get my $80,000. But you guys said you can close next week. Yeah, John, we can close next week. And again, we're covering all the closing costs. Don't worry about anything as far as, that goes. We're ready to close. It's just this budget right here. I can't get my, lender to approve it. We can't get our lender to approve it just because we're 10,000 over. However, if you can meet us, give us something right there, I'm sure we can get this approved and get it closed out next week. Well, can you just tell me a number? They might just say that. Well, can you just tell me a number? I'll tell you what, John, if you can just, can you give us 10,000? Can you do 10,000? Can you do 10,000 less? I know that might sound, I don't know if you'll be able to do that, but if you could do 10,000, that will work, right? So kind of just make it sound, I know you might not be able to do this, the 10,000, but if you could do 10,000, that will work. Well, I don't know if I can do 10,000, D'Angelo, but could 5 work? Can we meet in the middle? Well, let me speak to my purchase manager and I'll get back to you. I'll give you a call back here in the next 15 minutes. How's that sound? Okay, D'Angelo, I'll hear from you in 15. You give him a call back. You say the $5,000 work. Now, the point that I'm getting at there is right there in that situation, you're just bringing it up from the standpoint of you're casually saying how much over rehab budget you are, but you're telling them what you can give them if they can, give a little on their side. And, be cautious of the words you use there. You don't have to go verbatim of what I just said. These are all ideas that I'm giving you. So I just want to give you guys ideas so you can go ahead and, implement them your way. Get your own spice onto it, right? I put my own spice onto everything I'm saying telling you as well. Another technique that you'll use is, really what I call the big ticket item. So you just want to kind of do the same thing, but you want to pick out one big ticket item, okay? So you basically, the whole idea here is saying, we will be able to close if it wasn't just for this one big ticket item, okay? So what that look like? They could look like a sewer drain, something that's like, about $10,000 to $15,000 to replace if you don't have the right, people to put it in. It could be higher than that. But you want to just bring up that there's the sewage drain that we have to put a new sewage drain in there. That's going to be another 15,000. If it wasn't for that, we'd be able to close. Can you help us out a little bit on the price, considering what we're going to have to replace the whole sewage drain at 15,000? Those type of tactics is what you want to use. However, the main thing is the win, guys. The win is really the main thing. You're going to say what you're going to say. At the end of the day, you can't force someone to go down on the price, okay? Like I know, you come across a seller who wants their number, they're going to get their number, whether it's you giving it to them or somebody else or another method of selling, or they're just keeping it themselves. Now, what I will say is they came this far with you for a reason. So that's why you want to bring up big ticket item. That's why you want to bring up the rehab budget that's a little bit over. You want to bring up these kind of things because they already trust you. So this is why the win is so important. I can't stress it enough. And this is why I said win first before how. Because once you have the buyer in place, at this point, if you would like to, even let's say the same $80,000 example, let's run with it. At $80,000, you still could sell that property at $90,000. And if you wanted to be ambitious, I'll say, you could still go back to your seller and say, hey, look, we need it at $65,000. and that'll give you a $25,000 split. Now, a person like me, I won't do something like that. I just, it doesn't sit right with me. And I like the overall excitement that everyone gets the day of closing. So I know the seller is excited. I'm excited. The buyer is excited. Everybody's excited. So I'd rather have everybody excited than go back to the seller and try to get a huge reduction of price when I already have the property sold. I don't want to mess up the energy there. So if I got a $10,000 split, I more than most likely will not go back to the seller and ask for a reduction of price. Like, that's just me. That's how I roll. Really, when I get the property sold, if I'm firm on my number, I like to just really go back and just be firm on my number. Now, if I have to get the property, the main way I actually myself get the property reduced is if I'm in a situation where I was maybe $5,000-$10,000 over with my offer price, with the property, what I got the actual property at for my personal price. If I'm about $5,000-$10,000 over and I got somebody that's, willing to, meet at the purchase price that I got it at or something like that, then I'll go to my seller and I'll, get that property down, as much as I can get it down, to be truthful with you. And I've gotten it down a lot. So that's the main thing as far as how I'll get it down. But if I got the property sold, my advice to you, get that property sold. If it's 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, anywhere up in there, I would say still get it sold. Like, don't worry about going back. Just get that, because there's going to be another one right around the corner, because you just did what you said you would do, which is purchase the property at that initial price. So that means a lot to the universe. Just trust that process as well. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. As always, make sure your heart is in every step along this journey. I know it can be, a challenge. It is a challenge. If it was easy, everybody would continue doing it. But that's not the reality. You'll see on your journey, some people will just fall off if you are, with other people. So you have to be special. In a way, the thing that keeps you going is having your heart in every step. There's no other way to keep going. If your heart is not in it, you're going to bend, break, and fold, and you'll be out there looking on the sideline, watching everybody else in the field playing. As always, baby, get to stepping. And if your heart is in it, you're already a success.